Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services in Eastland, Texas. Tune in every week as we share important information to help you and your family live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, legacy and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
This is Matt Irvin and Aaron Kennedy on another episode of Black and White Market Minute on Life Planning 101. We're here today to come at you short and sweet. We want to touch on the banks and a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I was out of town all week. Spent some time with the family. The kids had spring break, so we got out of town. So didn't really get to address the banks as soon as it happened. But, oh my gosh, I'm glad it just kind of waited until I was gone.
Well, I have to tell you a quick funny. We had an event last week, and I had a client come up and say, "That's so funny what you do. Where in the world is Aaron today on the podcast?" So, yeah. Anyway, so that's good. Yeah. So Aaron, give us a quick rundown. I know there's a lot of concern out there, and I think we need to help people understand what happened to the Silicon Valley Bank, why it's a little bit of an isolated incident based on some of their management decisions, and not necessarily not a systematic thing or systemic.
Systemic. Right off the bat, I think the big banks are going to be fine. And when we look at SVB Bank or Silicon Valley Bank, their banking operations were super, super strong. The loans that they had out were performing fantastic. It was one of the strongest performing banks out there. But the board made a very large error in how they invested their money. Not the loans, how they invested. So they were taking their cash and buying a lot of long-term treasuries. In GAAP accounting, you can have two kinds of investments. You can have held to maturity or mark to market. If it's held to maturity, you don't ever have to realize gains or losses on those investments, or 30-year treasuries or 20-year treasuries, whatever it was, until it matures. Mark to market, these are more trading type of things, and you have to show everybody what it's worth on a periodic basis. SVB had a tremendous amount in long dated treasuries or held to maturity treasuries. And the duration of these things, or the interest rate risk, was about 18%. So for every 1% interest rate increase, the bond dropped 18%. So we're looking at over a 50% drop for these held to maturity assets. That's really where the problem came in. They made a run on the bank. People wanted their money out, and the assets that they had to sell were down so much. And they're guaranteed securities, treasuries, U.S. government bonds, nothing crazy. Just the board they didn't believe that the Fed was going to raise interest rates that much.
Well, they did it pretty aggressively. So
the most aggressive in history, but it didn't jump from 0.25 to 4.4 overnight.
No.
It took a year.
Yeah.
So it was basically a boardroom decision that destroyed that bank. Just bad management.
Well, and really unfortunate, because they did a lot in venture capital, and so a lot of the big names that, big technology fund, Silicon Valley.
Bank, hello.
The birthplace of technology, if you will. They had a lot, and so there was a lot of cash there, and the Fed came in and made everybody whole, or at least 95 to 100%, whatever that worked out to be. So again, not a big deal. The banking itself, but I thought it was interesting how, they were so, they had so much less cash. I'm having trouble saying that, but basically I think you said they had like half of the cash that they should have had on a regular basis. So even the run that we talk about wasn't like, days of old where everybody's trying to hit the ATM. We're talking people with $300 million sitting in cash there that are like, I'm going to pull this back.
Yes, yeah, and it was just regular deposits that they started going after. And it just, all of a sudden it just came to light that they had this unrealized loss on their balance sheet, and someone said, I better be the first to get it out. And then boom, 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 it's all over. The Fed stepped in pretty quickly, and they made this kind of arrangement where they'll accept those long-term treasuries, with the large losses in it, and use that as collateral to make everybody whole. But it was too late for SVB Bank. It was already done. Right. The big question is what happens to small banks. Are they going to step in and say 95% of your cash or 99% of your cash is good over the FDIC limits, right, of 250?
Yeah.
And that is really an outdated number. Hello, we just had 18% inflation
right.
over the last year.
Yeah.
And that 250, I think that was increased last in 2008. So, that's really outdated. And I bet what we're going to see is the FDIC come out and increase that limit and at least backstop the treasuries held to maturity and make that more of a permanent thing. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But the market moved.
Sure did.
Interest rates. Everybody flooded to short treasuries. It's not in the banks right now. Interest rates went down. That means treasury prices went up. People are buying short-term treasuries. Short-term treasuries went from about 4.4 down to 3.8 while I was gone.
Yeah.
I get back to work, turn on my computer, oh my God.
Yeah.
I read all week long about this, and I kept reading how much interest rates had moved, and I thought it was 10 basis points, but my gosh, 60 basis points overnight. That's a big move. It's a really big move. So right now the market is digesting it. Who's going to get the help? Do we have the safety there? And it really looks like this is pretty isolated, and it's going to be a learning experience for everybody. Going to be really interesting. See what that backstop is for the other smaller regionals and the community banks. It's going to be really interesting. So it's going to be one of those hold your hats until we figure it out.
Well, even this week with Fed Powell, right? He's supposed to come out, I think, and announce, and there's the debate of between 0 and 25, and if we go to 0, how do you say this broke the system, we need to stop, and then 3 months from now say, oh, just kidding, it didn't break the system, we need to keep going. Yeah. So it's gonna this is kind of interesting.
Well, it kind of sounds like the late 70s, early 80s, huh? May not repeat exactly, but it sure rhymes. This is a lot of what happened. They took the foot off the brakes, and inflation took off again, and that's what happened with the interest rates jumping up to 18% in the early mid 80s.
Yeah. Well, we shall see, and it's we should have some more news. We've got an exciting guest on the next. Our next episode's our longer one, and we have an exciting guest to share with everybody. So that'll be great. Get some industry insights from a strategic partnership that we use. So I think it's great. Aaron, any last words before we get wrapped up today?
No. If you need help with cash management, you're worried about your FDIC limits, holler at us. We can walk through it. We can help. We can make sure you're all in the right spots. Keep the money that has to be guaranteed, keep it guaranteed. So if you need help, holler at us. That's why we're here.
Everybody have a great rest of your day, and look forward to talking to you a little later in the week. Again, this is Matt Irvin, Aaron Kennedy on today's episode of Black and White Market Minute on Life Planning 101.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services. If you have questions, you can email them to lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more Life Planning 101. The opinions expressed herein are those of the firm and are subject to change without notice. The opinions referenced are as of the date of publication and are subject to change due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass. Any opinions, projections, or forward-looking statements expressed herein are solely those of the author, may differ from the views or opinions expressed by other areas of the firm, and are only for general informational purposes as of the date indicated. Securities offered through Calton and Associates Incorporated, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Smart Money Group LLC. Kennedy Financial Services and Smart Money Group LLC are separate entities and are not owned or controlled by Calton and Associates Incorporated.